Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of the Nexgen Careers WOW Ed series. WOW Ed stands for World for Educators, and this is a series that we run to highlight individuals and projects that are innovating in the space of work-based learning and in the future of work. And I just thought I'd start off by telling you a little bit more about Nexgen Careers, and then I will hand it over to Andreu to talk about today's topic and today's guest, and we'll kick it off from there. But Nexgen Careers is all about supporting individuals to find success in the future world of work. So we do this by running online and also on-site career development programs and work experience programs. So if you're an educator and or a career advisor and looking for support within this field, we are here for you to support you. So you can contact us through LinkedIn or via email. I will put all our links below so that you can reach out if you have any questions or want to learn more. So that's it from me. I'm going to hand it over to Andreu, and we're going to kickstart today's episode, which is going to be about females in tech, which I'm really excited about. So take it away, Andreu.
Thank you, Cecilia. My name is Andreu, and I'm one of the co-founders here at Nexgen. And I am very happy to host today Laura Fernández. We've met long before Nexgen was even an idea, and long before allWomen was an idea. So I'm really glad to have her here today to speak a little bit about her journey, but also to give us a bit more insights on what is the tech world looking like and the future of work, how her opinions about these different topics. So it happens, I didn't know, just like 5 minutes before we started this conversation, someone told me that this Friday is the International Day of Female Entrepreneurs, which I didn't know it was a thing, but apparently it is. And if it is, it's because it needs a space for conversation, because it's obvious that the representation of female, especially as a founder, is a lot less than male. And we happen to have a female entrepreneur with us today. And I would like to say a successful one, not that it was maybe the first try or second try, but a successful one. And I would like for Laura first to introduce herself, but also to tell us about her background and how did you get to become an entrepreneur, and how did you co-founded allWomen?
Okay, well, thanks for the introduction. And well, I'm super happy to be here. And it is true that we've met like a long time ago, where all of these were still ideas. What about my background? So I don't come from technology or education. I did my university degree on digital communication, and for a while I was working on the film industry actually. But I was working outside Spain, around the world, and then I came back 7 or 8 years ago now. It's been a while. And I was looking to continue my career in the film industry. But at that time in Spain, if you remember, or if you didn't know, but it was, we had like a crisis, an economical crisis that were having also an impact on jobs and employment in youth, right? So, and I was youth and I was unemployed. So that was my case. But I had, all this energy and all this interest to know what has happened in my city, in my hometown, which is Barcelona, in all this time that I was abroad. And all of a sudden, in a very random way, I met, this group of people that were organizing talks for entrepreneurs. And I have to admit that it was almost maybe the first time that I heard the word entrepreneur. I mean, I know what it meant, but I never thought that it was a thing, a movement, lifestyle, work, way of doing things. And through this group of people, I get to meet Makers of Barcelona. Makers of Barcelona at that time was one of the first co-workings and collaborative communities, I would say, in Spain. And I happened to meet Cecilia Tam, who was the founder of that project at that time. And all of a sudden, I was surrounded by entrepreneurs and startups, technology. I didn't know what all that meant, but I felt, you know, a super positive energy, a creative energy that I decided that I wanted to be part of. So I remember that I more or less asked, not beg, but asked Cecilia for a job. And she was like, yeah, okay, come tomorrow, you know, something like that. We will, you know, figure something out. And yeah, and that was like 7 years ago, and all our relationship started with Cecilia, with Makers of Barcelona, and with this entrepreneurial and startup ecosystem in Barcelona, but towards to the world, not very international and very global.
And Makers of Barcelona is turning 10 this year, or just now.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. So
one of the first co-workings in Barcelona. And now I think we are over 400. And what was a trend in the future of work, obviously we are now there. Like co-workings are booming everywhere.
Yeah.
So in this ecosystem that you found yourself immersed, that you didn't know that even existed, that it was so thriving, different projects and different ideas were happening. And we want to know, how did you end up having this idea of a tech academy for women? Because I kind of followed the path, and I know some things, but I'm interested if you could share how did you come up with this idea?
Okay, so I'm going to explain a little bit like the background, right? So within Mob, we started working in educational projects, and this is how we met actually. And we were trying to match technology, young people, entrepreneurship, right? Because we had this like unemployment rate and all of that, but we were observing that companies, you know, they were asking for profiles with digital skills, and you know, and we were having this gap that didn't make any sense. So we started working in that direction, and then from that was, let's say, kind of like the origin, right? We said, okay, but we realized that maybe, you know, funding is being a problem for these people, for these young people that want to become a developer or a data scientist, right? So we said, why not we create a crowdfunding platform, and these people, they can, you know, fund themselves through offering different services after, you know, they have learned these new digital skills. And that was sort of an experiment. That was my first entrepreneurial project, I must say, and it failed, but I learned so much, and I'm super glad that happened, because without this fail, I couldn't learn this. You know, at that time when I was, you know, failing, I was so super frustrated. But after that, you start to learn things, and then you don't fail on the same thing. So I think it's part of the process of starting your own project or start becoming an entrepreneur. So that's the first step, let's say. And then one day we went with Cecilia to a tech conference in Barcelona, and there were like 0 female speakers, 0. And that was around like 4 years ago. And we were frustrated, and we were upset, and we were saying, but we know, you know, women that are working in technology, why are they not here, right? And we said, look, let's focus all our efforts on, yes, bridge this like digital gap, but let's focus them as well on this gender gap that is even, you know, more profound if you look, you know, at numbers or statistics, right? So with all of that, like doing first future funded and understanding this like digital gap, and then going to this conference, it seems very, very silly, but it was like the trigger, you know, we suddenly were seeing that, you know, in the front of our eyes. And we decided to match this like gender gap and digital gap, and try to come up with a solution to address that challenge. And yeah, so the first thing we did, it was like, okay, let's test if that makes sense, if to have like an academy that is for women by women makes sense. And we created, you know, a first workshop that it was a 2-day workshop, and how to build a chatbot. We will have like a female instructor, and we will have only female students. And actually the workshop, it ran like super smoothly. It was a very nice experience. And so we kind of like validated, even though it was like a very short prototype or a small test, but we kind of saw, you know, the opportunity and the necessity of working towards that direction. And that was 3 years ago now.
And in 3 years, obviously, a lot of things have happened, like a world pandemic in the middle of those 3 years.
Yeah.
But even though you've managed to grow the company and you have a stable number of women that join your courses, your portfolio courses are continuing to increase. But one thing that we've seen as well is that you put a lot of emphasis on working with the tech industry itself and bringing them, having career fairs, and try to bridge them and make it as a path, a career path that they can finish allWomen and have a job opportunity there. So with all these efforts that you're doing, what are the needs that you identify that the tech industry is having in regarding what you're talking about, digital skills and this gap, but also referring to women, which is that what you know more?
So for instance, like the other day I was reading, right, like on LinkedIn, that LinkedIn makes a prediction that in 5 years, it was like 150 new jobs in tech will be needed and created, right? So if we continue with this trend of like just filling up these tech positions with male, just looking, you know, from a very pragmatical way and in numbers, like we're not going to be able to match these like 150 million positions. So women have been, you know, left out during all this time for, you know, the way we've been socialized and the way we've been like educated, like all these like stereotypes and bias and, you know, all the stories of our humanity. But now we are aware of this reality, and now it's in our hands to try to address and change that. It's our responsibility, and not only of women, but companies, society, governments. Everyone has to do an effort. But as well, we have to, like, there is, you know, this like very objective, in a very objective way of looking at that, in a very like responsible and committed way to look at this. So there is like a huge need and a huge potential and opportunity for women to join the tech sector, and for the tech sector to have women, because at the same time, so women, we are like half of the population, and we are building like digital solutions for the whole population in theory, right? But we have like all the designers, all the developers, all the programmers, like everyone making those digital solutions are only one type of demographic, right? That is like men, and it's white, and it has a certain age. So these people in theory is in charge to make products and solutions for everyone in the world. So there is something that, you know, we are not like doing well, of course, because we don't have like a representation of all different demographics that we need in order to create solutions for everyone. So there is so many reasons why women, you know, we should be part of this tech revolution.
And from the company perspective, of course, there is more and more discussions about making companies more inclusive, more diverse. You, that now that you're in contact with this industry, do you find that do they believe in that and they actually making something, or it is one of those things that first starts like greenwashing and then actually, oh, we need to do it because the world is going to shit, or actually they buy into it and they see the value of making more diverse teams, especially when it comes to the tech positions that they have?
Yeah, there is a mix of everything that you just said. So there is companies that they truly believe, and there are companies. So there are companies that truly believe, but of course, it's not that easy to change. I'm not giving an excuse for them, right? But to change a whole culture, to change, and when you have like millions of employees, so it takes time. But I think like there are companies that truly believe, and they are making, you know, the effort to change that. And there are other companies that is more kind of like a diversity washing thing. But for those ones, I would say that they will have to really make an effort and try to change from with it. Otherwise, they are not going to, you know, succeed as a company. As you know, you were mentioning like this greenwashing. Like I think the more and more consumers are more empowered and have more decision about, you know, the products we buy, and so companies, they have to react to that and really be like green and really diverse. Otherwise, consumers, they won't buy from you. So even though you don't truly believe inside you will have to do it. anyways. And the ones that start earlier are the ones that will succeed, and the other ones will just, be like left out. So again, I think you can look at this matter from an objective and very practical way, or from a more committed and responsible way. But either way, we'll have to meet at the same point.
And I think it ties very well into my following question. We've started to hear a lot about, especially in the States, the Great Resignation, or how like 4.5 million have quitted their jobs in August. Everything that happens in the States is great, but let's call it super resignation. But Microsoft and LinkedIn CEO, they talked about the Great Reshuffle. No, resignation or reshuffle. We know that big things are changing in the world of work, and employees are quitting for very different reasons. Culture fit being one of them. And one of the things that you talked about is like how changing big cultures is different. But as you're saying, like whether it's for practical reasons or because you believe they will have to change. Do you think that having a more diverse and inclusive culture, it is one of the reasons why employees will buy into a company?
I think so. I think it's the same. It applies the same data for consumers, right? Because you want to be part of, I think like more and more I hear, or at least like all of our students, when they finish the course and we help them to find jobs, they always say the same: I want to connect with the mission of this company. So, and not all companies have, a mission. So I think it's like very, very, very important for us as individuals, because we're going to dedicate like most of our time to that company. And yes, money is one of the reasons, but it's not all the reasons, because I'm dedicating like 80% of my time. So you need to bring me something else besides money. So I think, yes, that is the same that is happening with consumers is happening with employers and employees. You want to be part of that mission. You want to drive change. You want to be owner of your work and the time that you put into that company and to the growth of that company. I think all of this is changing, and changing for good. I mean, I think we still have like a long way to go, and we're going to learn so many things on the go, but things are shaking, things are changing, and we need to take, actions, because otherwise we will be left out.
It's kind of like the employees changing, no? It's like feeling empowered, and now it's not a passive actor of the things happen to me, but I have a stake of, and I think the tech sector is driving this, because there is this shortage of skills that people feel I can quit and go anywhere else because I'll find a job, and some people might feel empowered by that. You mentioned the students that you have. Could you tell us kind of like demographic, some of the reasons, because I'm sure are very diverse, but why do they join, and what is that they're aiming by joining? Obviously entering the tech industry, but what kind of profiles do you have?
Yeah, so first we have like two different profiles that are, so the career shifters that we call. So it's women that are not related to technology at all, but they see that, that is like the way we're moving towards. So they want to be part of this. So they come from a variety, of backgrounds, from, architecture, linguistics, history, philosophy, like any kind. And those are the career shifters. And then we have the career boosters, right? So women that already work in digital or tech sector, but they want to be in a more like technical position, or adding a tech layer to their profile. So maybe more, marketers or engineers, or, like the engineers that are more like tangible, let's say, right? So this kind of people is more like the career boosters. All of them, what they have in common is that they all have like a previous professional experience in some field, and they want to do this like upgrade on their careers, right? And move forward with the technology way. And then I would say they are between, 25, 35, right? So already went to university or some kind of study, and this previous professional experience. They are all very international. We counted, and we have like 40 different native countries in our students community, which is like super nice. But we were like very international already in our DNA. Like you know, Cecilia, she's from the States, but she was born in Hong Kong. Kim is from South Africa, so we have a mix already of nationalities in our core team. So it's normal that, you know, our students and our communities as well, very international.
Awesome. And I want to kind of change now, because you talked that your students are 25 to 35. And we know that there is less women in technology, because also there is a bias on when they choose their academic path. There is less women in technical, even though it's changing, and it's changing rapidly, thank God. But in previous interview on this series, we spoke with Professor Gerd Kraus, which is the head of education of Kidzania, and it's an edutainment company that allows children to role play in adult jobs. They have 30 centers across the globe, so it's like it's a big thing. I didn't know it existed, and they did a research with the students, and they have more than 600,000 data points, and they show that gender bias starts as soon as 4 to 6 year old. That girls choose girls' jobs, and that girls choose jobs that are for like
assisting, communicating.
Yeah, exactly. The boys will pick up the plane, the pilot, and girls will play cabin crew. So knowing that as soon as six year old, it's already kind of like defined. What do you think? And that's personal opinion. Like what should we do at earlier education? Maybe not at 6, but at high school. What could we do to kind of, instead of getting to you at 25, that they get to you at 18? Yeah. First choice, I want to go into tech because blah blah blah, or any other kind of like more technical.
Career. I think we should start doing things like then, you know, when they are like 6 years old and they are already choosing that they want to be, you know, part of the cabin crew instead of like, you know, being the pilot. Because at this, if you are making that decision, is based on what you see around, to the things you are exposed to, the references you have around. And I think this makes so much different, right? If you see other girls your age, other women that are older than you doing, you know, like all these different type of jobs, then I think you understand that being a nurse is not a female job, or being a doctor is a male job. But I think already at this age, you are exposed to, you know, all these references, and those are the references that, you know, our kids are getting. So they just absorb them. And then I think it even gets like more complicated when you are 18 and you have to choose your next step, you know, going to university or whatever, like doing, you know, more professional studies. Already like all the girls are choosing a path, and for you to choose that, maybe you are super interested in engineering or you know, and robotics, but you have to decide to leave, you know, all your girlfriends because they are choosing the other path that they have told you that they have to choose, and that you have to be, you are going alone, like super rebel, and a little bit like being like opposite what everyone has told you and society has told you already. And then it's a very hard choice to make when you are still like super young, you know. So because we don't have these references and we are not exposed to, you know, all this like variety of options, like then going against is even like more complicated, and a very like young age you need to make, you know, those like hard decisions. So I think like in allWomen, it is true that we focus in other women, but I think it's very important to start tackling that at a very young, super young ages.
And I think there's also an element of demystifying what tech means, no? Like we see this black screen with green coding lines, but it can be simpler than that. And it's kind of like how we tackle problems and how we have like use logic, and how could we demystify that at a younger age and remove the idea of guys with hoodies and kind of like very, very macho dominated culture.
Exactly.
How could we do that?
So, for instance, I did, so last year, there is a program called Technovation, and this is like a global program for, you know, to challenge and to empower like young girls, like 8 years old, 10 years old, to start working with technology. And it's only for girls, right? So you create like this environment where they they don't feel like, I don't know technology is so complicated, because that's another thing that, you know, as a girl, you are told like, it's full of mathematics and you are not good at this. Instead, boys are told, no, mathematics, you are a boy, like super easy for you, is the thing that you should do, right? So they have created like this global competition that is only for girls. And there are like different teams created, and there is like a global challenge. And then the girls like decide to work on a project. So I was mentored last year for one of these group of girls, and they were, you know, I was surprised at the things they were worried about it. So we created an app to collectively, it was kind of like a gamification app to work towards environment, right? So they already have this kind of conscious of the world around them, right? And because they care about the problem they were trying to solve, they were like super engaged in building that app. And at some point we were using some software, and they know more than me, you know, using that software, and they were like 10 years old, right? But they were super motivating to try to solve something that they care about it. So I think it's a matter of how we, you know, teach and provide this education and this technical content to them. They need to engage. So if they tell you, you have to create a battleship, well, maybe boys are super excited, but girls, they don't care about a battleship or a football match, right? And so we just need to understand, you know, how girls and boys are shaped and brought to that, you know, into this world, and find things that trigger them, you know, and resonate them in a different way.
So it's not about technology itself, it's about the methodology that you use to develop certain skills at the end of the day. Because
claro, I think it's various things, like having these references and these role models, and how we conduct, you know, this kind of knowledge for them, so they feel engaged with it. And yeah, there is like different, and I think these two things are like super key.
So I now just one last question to close the kind of like more the formal interview, and we open the Q&A if there's any questions. It's a question that we ask all our interviews. It's about the future of work. You talked before about LinkedIn saying that there will be 150 new jobs soon. I think your tagline is the future of tech is female. Is that correct?
Now we change it and we say the present of tech is female.
The present of tech is female. So tell me, is the future of work also female?
Yes, I mean, yes, we are, you know, part of this of the workforce, though we need some changes. But I think like this pandemic brought a lot of like new inputs for employers to realize of, right? Like, okay, we need to care about the things we are doing. We need flexibility, micromanagement, or being there in the office 9 to 5. I mean, it's not necessary. It doesn't make us happy. It doesn't make us to be more efficient. Like, I think this pandemic brought like a lot of like negative things, of course, from the health point of view, but it brought another like opportunities and amazing things, right? That we can work and live decentralized, that we can be like responsible, you know, employees, and this brings more productivity and more, you know, and better work, because you are trusting your employees, and they have flexibility. They can combine, you know, being dad, being a mom, having friends, doing exercising and working, and like, because I think in the end, like, we live in this, you know, capitalistic society where there's like all these layers of time that we need to put on. So we need some flexibility there. Otherwise, you know, we're gonna crash as society, I think. So at least put some flexibility there, and we can feel, you know, more relaxed around this complex world, I would say.
So let's say the future of work is now, no? Because this flexibility that was kind of a trend coping is like already here for good or for bad or for both. Thank you very much, Laura. I'm really happy that things are looking bright at allWomen.
Thank you.
And hopefully we can see more growth and more impact in the tech industry.
You will.
We know that there are technologies that are impacting, we know, from politics to our day-to-day life, and it's good that the person behind designing and executing that is more diverse than it's current. So thank you very much, and hopefully we can speak soon. And we're gonna finish this, and we're gonna stop the recording, And if there's any questions here, maybe you have questions, Cecilia or Aisha that is here might have questions. And thank you very much, Laura.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure.